Hello and happy Christmas and a happy New Year. We're in between that little period.
Are we?
We're in between, yeah.
We're quite far. We're quite far gone.
But from Christmas, yeah, you can still talk about it. But we're kind of looking ahead a little bit more now. This is the OTB AM crystal ball as we look ahead to 2023 and the year of sport. Make our predictions, make fools of ourselves, look back. So we're predicting, as you'll see on screen.
Can we still talk about it? Can we?
We can, of course.
Can we? Yeah.
We look back this time next year. Premier League, the Women's World Cup, which of course.
Did you enjoy the World Cup final, Shane? What did you think of that?
It was a cracking game of football.
Was it?
Yeah. And the team that won were just definitely deserving of.
Ebbed and flowed a bit.
Ebbed and flowed. It was a game of two halves, 45 minutes per half.
Controversial.
It was
not without its controversies.
No, and it was in Qatar. And there were fans in the stadium. So it was very good. Sorry, we'll get that coming up back on screen. The Women's World Cup, the Premier League, we're predicting the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship, the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship, the Masters in golf. I've missed a couple there, but essentially the whole year in sport. Everything that is about to happen. Nathan Murphy is beside me in the studio. Nathan, how are things?
Hey Shane.
Jer, how are
things?
You?
Very good.
And we've got Adrian Barry on the line as well. Adrian, how are you?
Happy Christmas, Happy New Year, everybody.
Very festive looking there, Adrian. You really made an effort.
I just took a breather. Like Shane saying, 45 minutes a half. Like, look at all that added time there was, as we know.
In the final. Yeah. What did you make of the final, Adrian?
Good now, yeah. It's very a bit surprising, wasn't it, in terms of like the way the expectation of how the game was going to go.
Was it? Why was it surprising?
Just the way it turned out.
All right, we get it. Let's move on.
Maybe the result wasn't a great surprise, maybe that's what everybody expected.
Yeah. Did the year in sport 2022 go the way you all expected? There was no mad surprises, was there?
Oh, you've got no patience.
Let's move on.
Unless there was that big surprise in the World Cup final that we can't talk about. Who could have predicted that Senegal went all the way? Wow, what are the chances?
You're going to look great if that's actually happened. It's hard to know. I don't know who looked the idiots in last year's crystal ball predictions, but I'm sure there were idiots.
And I'd say we have it to hand, do we?
I don't know if we do.
Come on, lads. This is basic production 101. Where's last year's predictions?
Fair, I'm sure someone will dig it out for us and make us all look like idiots. There's a lot of pressure on these because they will be shown back to you at some point if you make a howler and having
or not. As the case may be.
The only way these ever are seen again is if you predict something right. You remember 6 months on that you predicted it correctly.
Clip it yourself.
And you clip it yourself. As I think Owen Sheehan might have done at one stage.
Yeah, well, that's understandable.
Whatever happened to that guy? That's the big shock of 2022 for me, that guy's no longer around.
He is still alive, folks,
well,
just in case you're tuning
again,
in.
There's a month to go, so let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I suppose we're going to look back and we'll clip it if someone has made a howler. And I've actually seen the predictions before we started, and there's a couple in there where I'm like, nah, ridiculous carry on. So we'll do all those predictions. I'll probably throw in a couple of bonus ones for our snooker and Formula 1 fans. You lads can pick out any other random little sports that you follow as well. Not little sports, they're obviously important, but any other predictions you can get. Should we just dive straight into it? Because the first one is the Premier League. Now this shouldn't be that difficult because we're halfway through the season. We're not predicting something that hasn't already started. Well, not halfway through the season. The World Cup has kind of got in the road a little bit, but Arsenal top of the standings before the World Cup got underway. Of course, the predictions are up on screen. Myself, Jer and Nathan are perhaps unsurprisingly going for Manchester City to claw it back and win the Premier League title. Adrian, you've gone a different direction.
That's an outrageous call in so many ways, isn't it? What date are we again?
I don't think it is an outrageous call. Listen,
the 30th of December.
Obviously, Arsenal have a big game against Brighton tomorrow, which is going to go a long way towards deciding how things develop.
Were you surprised by the Boxing Day results?
Arsenal West Ham is always a difficult game, so the way that went was I couldn't have really expected it, could we?
It's Stephen's Day,
St. Stephen's Day. If Kevin Kilbane can say St. Stephen's Day live on Match of the Day,
fair play to
you
him.
can get on board.
Take a note of Jer's name.
I don't. You're Rory.
Like City is the easy. You've all gone the easy route.
The obvious, factually correct one. Yeah.
And there's no great surprise about that. Like that ticks the box of the three. Everything we expect. They are obviously the odds-on favourite. So I've sort of gone out on a limb a little bit. And to be honest, I would sort of agree with some of the sentiment earlier on, in the sense that, with this prediction slot will never be heard from again unless Arsenal win the league. And I'm going to be plucking this one back out again. And otherwise, everybody's too lazy to
plucking this one back out again.
I think he said plucking.
I'm not sure. Certainly around. I'm not a pheasant plucker. I'm a pheasant plucker's son. I'm only plucking pheasants till the pheasant plucker comes.
That was not bad. That wasn't bad.
That was impressive.
Yeah.
It may look.
Give us your reasoning behind it, Adrian.
It may look like a mug's choice. Like you say, Nathan. Look, City are odds on, Arsenal are short odds, and then everybody else is long odds. So you were only really ever picking between two, and I'm nothing if not one for a bit of recency bias. And so I'm all in. But I think that as I said, City the easy choice. Are Newcastle going to squeeze in their Spurs, United, Liverpool? None of them, I don't think so. It's between the two of them, and I think that everything's come together nicely for Arsenal. Potentially, look at the tournament that Jude Bellingham had at the World Cup. And the links with him had cropped up about a month ago. And so maybe they're ready. Maybe they're ready to act on Jude Bellingham, or maybe in the meantime.
Listen, if I can predict one thing for 2023, it's that Jude Bellingham will not be playing for Arsenal.
Well, you just don't know. Look, even
what's the point of this entire show?
Even outside of that, I do think that they have a league-winning 11. When you suddenly look across the team, I think that they've been obviously the Arteta grand plan is starting to come to fruition. They're another year down the track. They've obviously yet to play City, but have done a number on some of the better teams. Obviously, Spurs. Beat Chelsea, beat Liverpool. The United result obviously is a bit of an outlier, and we are going to know a lot more, even though they won't have still played City by the end of January. Given that they've Spurs, I think they've United again, and I think they have Newcastle in there as well. But they are a league-winning 11 when you look at them now, which you couldn't have said, I don't think, at any point over the last 15 years or so.
Yeah, but they're going to bottle it. They're Arsenal.
Well, that's the only question. I don't think it's that outrageous a prediction, because I really don't feel. Though I've said Manchester City will win it, I think it's just the fact that they have that inbuilt know-how of how to win titles. I don't think City are anywhere near where they were over the last couple of years. I think Erling Haaland is covering over a multitude of sins in that City team, who, with the exception of Haaland, have nowhere near hit the heights. Now, that's not to say that they haven't, and that's not to say players weren't looking at a World Cup and thinking about that in the back of their minds, and just trying to stay in contention, and that we know they have the ability to go on a 14-game winning run and absolutely crush them, and we don't know that Arsenal can sustain what they've done. Maybe this was Arsenal pre-Christmas hot streak, and actually they'll just go back to being a fine team, and they'll finish somehow, and they'll finish in the top four, but that'll be the extent of it, and we'll sort of, again, have all those doubts that I think are completely unfair. Even if they don't win the league, it doesn't necessarily mean they're bottlers, unless of course they enter the last 3 weeks of the season and fully do bottle it. But City aren't as strong at the back, and haven't been as strong at the back despite the talents of all the defenders that they have. They haven't looked anywhere near as solid. I think the players behind Haaland have struggled for form. Grealish, Foden, with the exception of that performance in the Manchester derby, haven't hit where they should be hitting on a regular basis. Bernardo Silva hasn't quite hit where he could be on a regular basis. Gundogan, there's too many changes all of the time. So I think there are flaws in Manchester City. I'm just not convinced Arsenal, as of yet, are ready to have the consistency over a full season.
Is there any possibility that Pep Guardiola's master plan for a long period of time has been to play without central number 9, and now all of a sudden they put the number 9 in, and while he's scoring goals, the rest of the team is doing things slightly differently from what they would have done to try and create chances for him? That there's like a Ronaldo at United effect here, a little bit.
Well, that goes back to more, is it a Van Nistelrooy at Manchester United, where Van Nistelrooy scores an incredible amount of goals. You cannot say that Van Nistelrooy wasn't an unbelievable success at Manchester United. Yet either side of Van Nistelrooy, Manchester United are unbelievably successful. Yet while he's there, they win one league title, is it, when he's there? So maybe Haaland has that effect. I think they probably have so much depth, Manchester City, they'll still be fine. But yeah, that was one of the questions coming into the season. They scored 99 goals last season. They scored over 100 goals a couple of seasons before that.
What was the point of this?
What is the point of this? Well, maybe the point of it is that in April, in a Champions League, he scores 2 goals in a game that they struggle otherwise in. I don't know.
That you're all throwing out all these doubts there. Not as defensively as they were once at it. Maybe Pep has overthought this again. Haaland's not the right choice. And then all like sheep, you've all followed City down the path.
Sorry, nobody said Haaland is not the right choice. I think Haaland, there is no questions in any way about what
it adds pressure. That adds pressure. Because Haaland in your team after you've already won the league means you have to now win the league with Haaland. And you have to win the Champions League probably with Haaland. But otherwise Pep Guardiola's the bottler here, not Arsenal.
I wouldn't say again. I think bottler is too strong a word for either of these. But I think
No, I've
if
said it,
Manchester
bottler.
City don't win the league, it's an underachievement with that squad that is there. The Champions League, there's always a bit of it's a one-off game.
Well, we don't have the Champions League in there, but who do you
don't.
honestly think?
That's a dart throw at this stage, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a City or Bayern.
It's all a dart throw, lads.
I think Arsenal have been incredibly impressive.
It
I
isn't.
think
It
you're
isn't
right
a dart
that they
throw.
have-
We're going to get to Limerick and we're going to get to Kerry. It is not a dart throw, and we're going to get to
That's
France.
a nailed on bullseye.
They're all nailed on. But I think the Champions League, you've got to wait and see, what teams are still standing come the quarter-final stage.
I think all of your arses must be sore from sitting on the fence. I think we should just jump off
City.
the Champions League fence here.
Okay.
The Champions League fence.
Real Madrid.
Okay, there you go.
But then you're looking at the draw. So, you look at Liverpool so far this season and think, are they going to win the Champions League? No, they're playing Real Madrid in the knockout stages. But the winner of that, the momentum you take from that,
Yeah.
you will probably have them as second favourites behind. Whoever wins that, second favourites after that game behind Manchester City.
Yeah.
Is the draw for the next round made?
No.
Okay.
Liverpool could be there.
But again, there will be teams, because of the way the draw has gone.
Sorry, I'm going to take it back. I'm going to go Napoli.
Oh,
Napoli, best team in Europe so far this year. But then the Christmas break, who knows?
they have been impressive. When's the last time a Napoli type team won though? Was it Porto?
I know.
There's surprises since, but I mean, as big a surprise, that would be a huge surprise.
Would it though? Like, they're the best team in Italy. They've absolutely annihilated, everybody that they played at home so far this season.
Then Liverpool have been found out since. They thrashed the Liverpool team that isn't the Liverpool maybe that it was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think the Champions League is just so difficult to predict because there's a lot of good teams. How do they come back in February for the last 16? Some of them are going to knock each other out. You can't predict the draw. Like, the winners of Liverpool, Real Madrid could end up playing Manchester City in the next round. Suddenly they all take each other out, and there's a nice little route for the Napolis of this world to go through over on the other side and do something. I think looking at what we're talking about, the Premier League, I think Arsenal are going to go very, very deep into this. Will they sign in January? Do they need to? They have a little bit of depth. Like, they have Emile Smith-Rowe coming back now, who suddenly means he can play in one of those three positions behind Gabriel Jesus. Maybe Gabriel Jesus starts scoring in the second half of the season. He starts scoring a hell of a lot of goals in the second half of the season. I think they're here to stay. Like, Zinchenko hasn't played a huge amount in the first half of the season. He's back. He's rested. If he's fully fit, I still think it was a huge mistake for Manchester City to get rid of him. I think this will be a lot closer than people feel.
What's that? What does that mean? 5 points?
Not necessarily points. I think it'll go down to the final couple of weeks of the season. Like, they meet in the middle of February for the first time. They meet a couple of times around then.
April.
You need to win those games. That's when.
Okay.
If you go back to the Liverpool-Manchester City rivalry, those games.
Well, Arsenal had a lot.
Always actually were decisive.
Arsenal had a lot of players in the World Cup. Not that Man City didn't, but Haaland had a little bit of rest, holiday treatment over the Christmas period.
He's injured though, and his injury profile is not amazing.
True.
Arsenal have now started to show, like, given who they're beating around them with consistency, and I'll repeat the United blip notwithstanding, but they have them again in January. We'll see how that goes. But I think that those two games, Nathan mentions, the February one and the April one against City, like you're talking, Ger, 5 or 6 points. That's if there is going to be something in it, if there's going to be a gap in it, it'll be in City's favour. Let's face it.
Yeah.
And those two are probably title deciders. And I do think. I think you're talking about Arsenal. Are they going to win it, or are they going to finish second? I think that's the only question about them.
Yeah, so that's our first prediction in the books. Premier League winner for 2023. Adrian's going Arsenal. Myself, Jarrett, Nathan for Manchester City.
Sheep, yeah.
says Adrian. The next one on our list is the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. So we've gone with the winners first. We'll get to how we think Ireland are going to fare under Vera Pauw. But again, Adrian is the black sheep in this one. He's gone for England. We, on the other hand, the other three of us in the room have gone for the Americans, who of course have won the previous 2 incarnations of the World Cup. Made the case for England there, Adrian. Go on. It's coming home, is it?
Why did you marry England, Adrian? What?
Huh?
He asked you, why don't you marry England? What?
Yeah. Again, the sheep have gone one obvious direction. You've looked up the odds. US are short odds to win it. And that's the easy pick. But I think you just got to scratch away a little bit after that. Jeremy mentioned earlier on about that sort of winning mentality of City that they know, or was it Nathan, know how to win the thing. And I think that, like, obviously the 3 lines. Obviously haven't got the Euros done. I think themselves in the US, there is actually a lot of similarities between the Premier League race. Themselves in the US are favourites anyway. So again, it's not particularly outlandish. They have the know-how. They have the players. They're probably built more around, like, some of the other teams that'd be in the mix for are probably have a lot more individuals, like in the Haaland sort of nature. And England are probably more about the collective. Obviously they've some incredible players there, Kirby, Meade, Bronze, not bad, but I do think that I think that they've got the confidence up, they've got the nation behind them.
Beth Meade is going to miss the World Cup. She has an ACL injury. She's one of their best players. It's a massively damaging blow for England, who probably, do they have the depth of a USA? Like, the USA get to the semi-finals of every single World Cup. They've won it 4 times. They are always in the semi-finals. Yeah, it might be the obvious thing, because it's the obvious thing that's going to happen.
Easy call.
But sometimes you have to make the easy call, don't you? I mean, if you really believe,
this isn't a come up with some random team that's going to win something segment.
No.
It's
that's exactly what this is.
It's who's actually going to win it.
For the reasons we set out at the very start, that's exactly what this is. Nobody will ever see this again unless you've got an outlandish prediction that comes off.
I know. It turns out you're a contrarian motherfucker.
Who knew? No. But look, at Meade notwithstanding, I still think that sort of bank of experience of knowing how to get it done. There's an expectation suddenly around them, and I do think that they can deliver, and like, more luck to them.
Adrian's all about Westmead, not Bethmead, you see.
Hey.
So, it's going to be a good tournament. 20th of July, 20th of August. I think we're all going to drop tools and just watch this one for a while. I mean, it's going to be one of those tournaments. And we play. Look, it's Australia, New Zealand hosted. We have Australia in our group.
Yeah, this is what people care about. How far Ireland
we don't care.
Go.
So
that's how the interest levels will be driven for this.
We'll move on to that. We have a graphic for this. So how far will Vera Pauw's Republic of Ireland team get in this 2023 Women's World Cup? That is the important question. So we've kind of gone different directions with this one. Jerry, you've gone for Ireland to get to a quarter final. That would be something. Nathan, you're the pessimist for a knockout of the group stage. Myself and Adrian believe that Ireland will progress through the group, but potentially be knocked out in the round of 16, which I think is fairly realistic when you look at our group. So for Ireland, just for the fixtures, 20th of July, Australia. So the opening game against the hosts. 26th of July then it's against Canada, and on the 31st of July we play Nigeria in Brisbane. So the first game in Melbourne, the following 2 at Lang Park in Brisbane. So
2 draws and a late winner. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, to be honest, I've been looking at this a lot over the last 24 hours, and I've been revising what I've been thinking, and maybe they will make the last 16. Like, there's a very good chance that if they make the last 16, Ireland will be playing England.
They might also make quarter-final, semi-final and final.
Which would obviously be very difficult.
No, I didn't know that.
If they finish runners up in their group, they'll play the winner from whatever
England's
group A, who are going to be England.
England versus who?
England's group, I'll have it here in front of me in just a second. England have Denmark, China and the playoff Group B winners, which are as yet undecided. I mean, they'll beat Denmark and China, England.
A lot comes down to that first game against Australia. Australia lost their first game of the last World Cup. Ireland have beaten them recently, but it's on home soil, the opening game of the tournament.
A lot of pressure on them.
It does feel like it's going to be an incredibly tight group.
Remember Kathy Freeman talking about the absolute pressure that she felt to win at the Sydney Olympics, and like she was nearly sick with it. I can imagine the whole country. You know, they do like to lay it on thick. Australian sports fans generally.
Yeah, mate.
I think the worry for Ireland is that the Nigeria game is last, and that you find yourself in a scenario where
you have to win.
I think they can beat Nigeria. That you're almost out of it before that game. Like, if you look at qualification, the 9 top seeds won their groups. 8 of the 9 top seeds came second. Ireland were the only one to break through. Generally, at these tournaments so far, it goes by the overall quality, and not much ever changes that. Now, Ireland have shown that they have a way of beating the better teams, of getting results against the better teams, and maybe they are so well built for tournament football. They grind out a result against Australia, they grind out a result against Canada, and they go in knowing if they beat Nigeria, which I think would be the ideal scenario, that they qualify for the knockout stages. I just think it's going to be so...
That's what I said about 5 minutes ago. Draw, win.
But Canada are the Olympic champions. They're clearly getting stronger and stronger. And I just wonder about Australia on home soil. I know the pressure that comes with that, but actually maybe they're invigorated by that. It doesn't feel like it's a great Australian side, even though they have one of the best players in the world in Sam Kerr. But I think it will be, if they were to get to the knockout stages, again, I think it's just an unbelievable achievement considering the group that they find themselves in, considering the amount of travel they're going to have to do from Sydney to Perth back to Brisbane. The more I looked at it, the more I did start to think last 16. Maybe I am being pessimistic in general.
I think a draw
time.
in either of those games, the Australia or Canada game, is a serious result for Ireland. Like they're the ones that they need to target to try and get something out of, and that's kind of like, I'm, to be honest, having heart overruling head, because if it goes to form, they are going to struggle to get out of that group. But I think that anything beyond that, with England on the horizon, would be a stretch. And it'd be an awful shame if they did end up losing the first two and there was nothing on the line for the Nigeria game, like you were saying. If they had been flipped and there was something, it was all heart in the sleeve stuff for the last game and on we go, you might fancy them a bit more. But I
think Adrian's been overruling his head on the first 3 picks here so far. But
yeah, and it's hard to get the tournament has changed because there's more teams in it this time around. Like, all of these teams got to the last 16 of the last World Cup that they're going to play, but third place teams managed to qualify for the last 16 last time around. This time it's obviously just the top 2, so there's not too much room for error.
That point on hosts, playing the hosts in the first game of the tournament, imagine the hype before that match against Australia. Now, pressures for tyres, but this Australian team are experienced, but the hype before that game, there's no pressure on the Republic of Ireland team, and that is going to be a game that we could definitely get a draw at least from.
Possibly, and I think Ireland probably won't be the best team to watch in the tournament.
Yeah, it'll be grim.
It's interesting when you talk to the players. It's rare you hear a group of players say, like, we're not great to watch, but we know how to get a result.
We don't care. Clean sheets,
and that's what tournament football has always been about. But it also means if you find yourself going behind,
it's difficult. They don't have the wherewithal to get out, and the injuries are definitely not going to play. The
injuries, you'd assume, are going to have to be a factor for almost every country, and it has allowed Ireland to build a bit of depth when they're missing 4 or 5 players for those last couple of games. People have come in, like, the experience that they have is insane. Like,
it's the younger players though who are going to add a little bit of dash and brio and be the bolters to get in the team, who have traditionally fulfilled a big role for Ireland at World Cups. I don't know. I'm just hopeful that they'll get out of the group and cause a bit of a shock. That's it.
The kick-off times, I think, are
We're built to create shocks. I can easily see us. You can see us being knocked out on penalties if we do get to the last 16, because we're so difficult to. If we lose that game, because we're so difficult to break down. So.
Yeah, fair. We'll take it. Look, we'll take any of them, but pessimist Nathan we'll ignore that one now, group stage, and hopefully we can get beyond round of 16.
I'm waiting to be surprised.
Proven wrong. Okay, let's hope. Fingers
Tyranny
crossed.
of low expectations.
Exactly. Set the bar low and you'll only be happy. Exactly. We'll move on to the next one. The next one is Six Nations winners for 2023. So again, Adrian has gone slightly awry here. Slightly different.
Slightly awry before the tournament begins.
Ger,
Adrian doesn't realise that rugby exists outside of South Dublin, so
of course, cheese and wine. Ger, Nathan and myself have gone with France, and Adrian has opted for Ireland to win the Six Nations. I've almost in hope gone for France, because you don't want to peak. You don't want to peak too early next year. I know that. Look,
are we not at a stage now with Ireland where we're afraid of peaking at any stage?
Yeah,
you don't want to peak in 2023. That's you do want to peak next year. Why not just go and win the Six Nations and then go and do well at the World Cup?
Then there's pressure.
There's already pressure.
You just said pressure's retired.
No, I know.
You got to go and win it. And the games are stacked this year as well. That it's France at home in the second round, England at home on the final weekend, and it's not that when we had the repeat of these fixtures as they change every other year in 2021, it wasn't that we were able to get all our business done at home either, and we'd Kevin Cropper in Cardiff in the opening weekend, and that certainly put us in the back foot. So but I do think if you're being serious about trying to win a World Cup, I think that
Cardiff. Why you think we get to win Six Nations to win the World Cup?
I mean that is a hill to die on right there, but I mean I think
go on, die on it.
Unfortunately, there's no half-heartedness about it, right? Because I think that it's almost at the stage where, certainly one thing that I would like to see is Carberry get some proper game time, not just against Italy, but I don't know, can you jeopardise results at this stage? Because you're definitely close enough to the World Cup to start doing some damage, You can just see it, like the opening weekend against Wales away. Wales has figured us out. We need to come up with a new game plan. It's panic stations. We're 6 months out. All this thing that we thought we were going to World Cup, it's all built on a bit of bed of sand. So yeah, I'm not saying you need to absolutely win the Six Nations, but I'd like to see us go and try.
Okay, so you have your finger on the rugby Alicadoo pulse. Do you think people really think we're going to win the World Cup?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, Definitely. I mean, why shouldn't you think we
because we have to play
I guess,
South Africa and or New Zealand and or France on the same
I guess
side.
there's a difference there between can and will, right? Everybody thinks we can, right? Are we agreed on that?
Yeah, I think there's no one disagrees.
I mean, it would be like a bit of a miracle to beat all those teams.
Yeah, but look,
somebody's got to do that to win a World Cup.
Yeah.
Like,
There
you don't get a soft Rugby World Cup.
You do. England on the other side of the draw could easily play Wales and Argentina to get to a final.
It's an unkind drop, but they ain't going to get to change that. They've proven.
I don't know what you're shaking your head at. That's true.
What? They can change all these. They can change. They can't change the fixtures. They are what they are now, and they've proven that they can beat those teams. Like, it's not going to be a shock now if Ireland beat New Zealand or Ireland beat South Africa at these tournaments. It just isn't in a way that it would have been before. It would have been like a Japan-style sort of freak result.
Yeah.
It's not that anymore. So they can. Whether they will is the dartboard.
Will is yeah. But I don't think anybody thinks Ireland are going to win the World Cup. Will win. I don't know anybody who's like, yeah, I've seen it now. The evidence is all there. We're going to win this.
I think you almost have to sacrifice a Six Nations to win a World Cup. As in what Adrian said there, you play Carberry. You don't play Sexton every game.
I don't want to hear Joey Carberry's name in 2023. I'm sick of Joey Carberry. Play some bloody good rugby. Do something special for Munster. Put a bit of pressure on the coach. Otherwise, shut up complaining. I don't want to... Joey Carberry is not the answer. Johnny Sexton is the answer.
We're not saying he's going to play ahead of Sexton. I mean, if Sexton gets injured, which is very likely...
If Sexton gets injured, we're screwed regardless.
No, we're not.
Not necessarily.
Joey Carberry playing one game against Wales in the Six Nations is not going to prove he can do it in a World Cup quarter-final.
If he has to kick a late penalty...
tournament. Why would we play him? We don't even know if he's the best out half at Munster.
Well, or play Crowley the whole tournament. Play somebody the whole tournament so that you've got 5 games of top quality international rugby under your belt. Leave Sexton on the bench.
Never has a player had to do so little.
Nathan, would you please tell us what you really think? Come on.
Sorry, I'm sick of the Joey Carberry conversation, and that Johnny Sexton should just step aside for the good of Irish rugby. The good of Irish rugby is that Johnny Sexton should just somehow miraculously stay fit for the entire World Cup. We have a break between the South Africa game and the Scotland game. Nice 10 days for Johnny to put the feet up.
2 weeks, isn't it?
And then you come back. 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
So
What if he gets injured, touch wood, in that first game?
If he gets injured, he gets injured.
We have nobody ready.
Nothing Joey Carberry does in February or March is going to convince us that he's any better prepared.
How could it
not?
not?
The thing Joey Carberry needs to do is have a 6-month run for Munster where he guides them through big important games and shows that he's fully fit. Like, Joey Carberry is more injury prone than Johnny Sexton is.
What if he plays half of Six Nations games and plays well?
If you put
confidence up for the World Cup.
If you put Johnny Sexton in that Munster team, he's not getting you to a Heineken Cup final. If that's what you're suggesting, like that's I mean,
I'd say there's a far better chances you can get to a. Because the entire culture of the place changes.
Yeah, well, I do take the point, but it's not like Joey Carberry can't single-handedly win them a Heineken Cup final.
No,
there are bigger issues than that.
And so if it's not Carberry, then it's Crowley. But you need to see what they can do in the test environment when they know early in the week, I'm going to be in charge of the weekend. I've run through everything. I've been there for the captain's run. I've had all the kicking in advance, and I'm not finding out 25 minutes before kickoff that Johnny's injured and isn't going to play. So you need to make a contingency plan. We've had 4 years. No one has stepped forward. Fair enough. Nobody's good enough. Everybody thought it was going to be Harry Byrne or I don't know who else, but at various stages. And I agree with you. Johnny Sexton, if he's injured, our chances, I don't think anybody would say we have a chance of beating South Africa or France or New Zealand if Sexton's not playing. We will be massive underdogs in that game. There's no player in World Rugby who will swing the line more than Johnny Sexton being available or not available.
We're already, look, the Six Nations and the World Cup are inextricably linked here anyway, so we're already there. We might as well bring up the graphic in terms of our Rugby World Cup predictions. And we'll see, one of us has gone fairly optimistically here with Ireland, and it is myself, Jer, Nathan and Adrian opting for France to win the 2023.
You had a rope-a-dope master plan there, Shane, where Ireland was like, play one of the other 10s for the entire tournament.
Lose the Six Nations, yeah.
And then show up with, hey, we've got Johnny Sexton.
Yeah, with expectations lowered.
We talk about Johnny Sexton as if having one of the greatest out halves of all time at our disposal as a bad thing but nobody's near him.
We don't.
Yeah, but his injury profile means you have to talk about alternatives.
He's never played 5 games in a row. He's never played 5 games in a row since
Who?
When? Sexton.
When's the last time he's missed 5 games in a row?
What do you mean?
Every player misses the odd game here or there.
Yeah, but it's like in the World Cup, you can't miss the World Cup quarter final.
I still don't. There's nothing Joey Carberry has shown that suggests throwing him in.
What's your solution here?
We just roll with Johnny Sexton for as long as he does.
And then when he gets
Hard him
injured,
off the
what do you
ambulance
do?
stretcher.
What do you do when he gets injured? What's your plan? Pray? What's your plan? What's your plan?
That's all you can do.
No, you need a plan. Make a plan.
It's like Luke Donald turning up for New Zealand. It's like Stephen Donald turning up for New Zealand. It doesn't really matter. You just hope to God somebody can turn up on the day and do a job. That's
Donald.
all you can do.
Okay,
Because you cannot somehow magic Joey Carberry into a Johnny Sexton type genius, or Crowley, or Frawley, or any of them.
None of them have played enough.
What you need is somebody else to step up.
Yeah, but sure, it hasn't happened.
Joey
Nathan.
Carberry.
I mean, not a number 10. You need Robbie Henshaw, Gary Ringrose, Gibson Park. They need to become the fulcrum of the team.
I think they will. I mean, that's my abiding hope here, that when the inevitable World Cup injury and Sexton misses a game, right, because it will happen more than likely, at his age, it'd be remarkable for him to be able to play. Maybe he plays the whole thing, I don't know. But, like, he has to be fit to play the whole thing.
So you're Andy Farrell, Nathan. Johnny Sexton gets injured in the first game. Genuinely, what is your plan? What do you do?
I look at whoever the form number 10 is at that time.
How do you know the form if you haven't played him in the
step
Six
up.
Nations? That's the most
It's
recent
6
game.
months previous.
We've got but a couple of World Cup warm-up games aren't.
There's
going to
no
tell you much.
games of any significant relevance.
If somebody comes in, so if Joey Carberry plays the next 5 months at a level we've never seen him play before, and is actually maybe putting some pressure on, then you go, actually, Joey Carberry, you're playing out of your skin. I don't think anything he does in February changes that discussion, because no matter what he does in February, you're not dropping Sexton for him for the big games. No. Sexton plays against France and England in the Six Nations.
No, but it gives you faith that if a situation comes where Sexton does get injured, he's ready to do it, to step in, Carberry. If he's done it in the Six Nations,
I think Anton
games
prepares
that
you
mean
for a
something.
World Cup quarter-final.
Six Nations matches.
Like, people go back to 2017 or 2019 or 2015. Like, we had an insane amount of injuries. That may happen again.
Yeah, probably will.
But that's not.
That happens to everybody.
Does a Triple Crown or Grand Slam decider not prepare you for World Cup quarter-final? The pressure of it, a few kicks in the last 20 minutes of a match. Of course it does.
It helps.
100%. If Joey Carberry's the man on
Nathan,
the pitch, he's ready to go.
What Nathan is saying there about like Ringrose, Henshaw, Gibson Park, and any amount of other players is already true. Like, you're not waiting for that. That's already true. Like, Gary Ringrose is captain of the team every other week. He's man of the match for whatever team he's playing for every other week. Henshaw has all those capabilities. Gibson Park, like, it's all over the pitch. It's right there. But having said all that, obviously the mercurial talents of your man, taking them out of any team, is going to diminish it. So we'll see. Like, they probably can't win a World Cup if he stays. Here will be the thing: if we could say, right, change your prediction based on Johnny Sexton remaining fit all the way through, would you then go for Ireland?
I would certainly be excited by that whole prospect. I really think we have a good chance of beating France in the semis or the quarters. Yeah. Sam Monson of PFF, I don't know if you all know Sam, he would have been a regular guest on various NFL pods down through the year. His pinned tweet is about John Gruden, who's an NFL coach, once asking Tom Moore, who was coach of the Peyton Manning team, why do Peyton's backups not get more reps? Fellas, if 18, that's Peyton Manning's number. Fellas, if 18 goes down, we're fucked. And we don't practice fucked. Nathan is in the Tom Moore school of like, we don't practice fucked. We don't care. If Sexton goes down, fellas, we're fucked.
But you can't have that
He
attitude.
did point out himself, he is coming from the school of like, oh, Shane Mullen is injured and Lee Keegan is gone.
Yeah, true. The world of excuses.
I missed that. Are you already making the excuses?
I'm not making any excuses. We haven't got to that section yet.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's move on. Next one up is, by chance, the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship. Of course, Kerry champions. The Dubs have Jack McCaffrey, Paul Mannion, Pat Gilroy in the backroom team as well. Kerry...
Why is there an asterisk?
Hold the phone.
You can't have an asterisk.
So myself, I've gone for Kerry, Adrian Kerry, Nathan Dublin, and Ger Kerry with an asterisk for some reason. Do you care to explain that first?
That was just assuming that Clifford stays fit.
Jesus.
Jerry, you had Brent. I think if memory serves, about a month ago, you had Brent Pope on the show and you made him pick. You got to pick.
Oh, I'm picking Kerry. It's Kerry's to lose.
Sorry, well then we'd be putting asterisk over all of these. Haaland, if Haaland's fit, City will win.
No,
if Sexton's fit, Ireland will win the World Cup.
I think City are going to win regardless of whether or not Haaland's fit. But
really?
Yeah.
We'll not go back there, but fair. I mean, no, the asterisk has to be taken out of that. If Clifford's fit, of course, they'll challenge. I mean, they have to be.
No, if Clifford's fit, they're going to win. They're an unstoppable juggernaut. They can't be beaten now, surely.
The Shawnee O'Shea point goes wide, for example.
Listen, everybody who wins the All-Ireland, Gilroy has them down as this dynasty team. Tyrone, we're going to be... Look at the age profile of that Tyrone team. They're going to dominate for years. Got to go and do it. The Dubs are the only ones who've done it. They're the only unstoppable.
Never said Tyrone were going to dominate.
They're the only unstoppable juggernaut.
They were stoppable last year.
No, they were the original, but
the original.
Look,
Yeah, I've gone for Dublin, but it was a very tight call. I think Kerry will win like 3 of the next 4, 3 of the next 5, and the Clifford will do unbelievable things. And part of me just wants Clifford to go to another level again this year. And with the exception of the obvious other thing that could happen that I would like to happen, but it's probably unlikely to happen.
Galway winning.
Mayo winning.
Give Kevin McStay a year first to settle in.
No, we don't have time for settling in
No?
Mayo.
Okay. Age profile.
Dublin are throwing everything at this year. Pat Gilroy's there. Con is going to be fit. Paul Mannion's back. Jack McCaffrey's back. Like, they are laser focused on giving Desi this one in front of a full Hill 16, full Crow Park. And I just think there's going to be a focus to Dublin this year that we haven't seen for the last couple of years that will just about see them over the line.
You're all going to ridicule me when I say this by saying the league is irrelevant, but hear me out for just a second. Dublin being in Division 2, is that a negative in that they're playing slightly weaker teams than they would have been in prep for the championship, or is it a positive in that they're under the radar and not really as big a focus as they would have been?
I think it's a positive in that they get to blend a bunch of players who've never played into the setup, and no one cares about the results, but there's no massive jeopardy on them either. Like, I never felt like, maybe the Dubs felt like they were using those games. You listen to Paddy talking on the football pod, and it's like sometimes they'd be coming back from the holiday straight off the plane, basically, to play matches, and they'd win, and they'd be like, yeah, we're at it. But I'm not sure that this group have enough of those players who know exactly what it takes. And so by winning a load of games, there'll be a team who have a lot of confidence, and then they'll win a load of games in Leinster before they get to the new round robin, whatever it's called. Do we have a name for it yet?
I don't know if there's a name for it.
Sweet 16s?
That'll be nice. Yeah, I'd go for that.
My super sexy Sweet 16s?
If it hasn't been already copyrighted and trademarked, let's go for that one.
The other thing with all of this is the setup of the championship system this year, which is so goddamn convoluted, and the fact that Westmeath are somehow guaranteed to be in the All-Ireland series already.
What do you mean
one Division 4 team from Connacht is going to be in there, which means you're going to have Mayo, Roscommon, Galway, 2 of those possibly among the lower seeds. And then remember, they go into 4 groups of 4, but after that, there's going to be a preliminary quarter-final before you play a quarter-final, which means 12 of those teams will stay in it.
Oh, it's 12, so it's 4, 4, 16 and 12 stay in?
So the group runners-up play the group third-place finishers in the preliminary quarter-final?
In every group?
In every group.
In the same group?
So I presume it's not in the same group. I presume it's crossways. So all of a sudden you could have a scenario where a Kerry or a Dublin find themselves having to play a huge amount of very difficult games very quickly, and somebody getting their nice soft draw with Westmeath.
Piss off. Like, Jesus, coming from
Leitrim or Sligo. Coming from me.
No, there's no way a Westmeath, Leitrim or Sligo are getting past the preliminary quarterfinals.
But what I'm saying is,
in with like a Leitrim or a Sligo.
If they end up in the same group, one of them will be getting to a preliminary quarterfinal.
Yeah.
Get a grip.
But a preliminary quarterfinal. And then...
Yeah, but that's it. So you could end up with a soft group, soft preliminary quarterfinal, or else you could end up in a group where Mayo, Galway, Roscommon are your 4th seeds, one of the tough Ulster teams are your 3rd seeds.
Could you end up with those as your 4th seeds?
Yeah, because they're going to be knocked out in the first round of Connacht.
Okay, so Mayo, Roscommon or Galway are on the same side.
They're on the same side.
But one of those will also be the winners of a group.
Yeah, one of them will also be
the Connacht draw has severely weighted this against.
But I just think my overall point is it's so different to what we've ever had before.
There is room for shenanigans.
It could actually change the path for a lot of teams.
But isn't it similar in Ulster? Like Tyrone play Monaghan in an Ulster quarter-final. The loser of that is all of a sudden out of a...
Monaghan.
Excuse me, but Monaghan, like Vinnie Corey's, there's a weight behind him. The whole county's behind him. There's some good players there.
Well, geez, you'd hope so. That's the very least, Shane. I mean, if that's not the whole county behind them.
Yeah.
There are many counties where that's not the case. Yeah.
The condescension, like consistent elitism, and like from the likes of Murphy there is just... It's off the charts, but it's got to be Kerry, lads, for me. I look at, to be fair, you have to take all those Dublin factors into account, but I think that Kerry are sort of unique in that, like, the way you've seen these counties previously, and like Kerry are sort of in that trajectory in that, like, most of those players obviously have never won in Ireland before, so are they sated by that? And there's nothing in the Kerry psyche that ever suggests that. Like, almost, it's like winning the All-Ireland to them is like more chum in the water for them to
push on.
They're not sated by it. They're at it again like ferocious piranhas or whatever the continuing analogy would be there. And I think that it won't that won't say them. Who are the provincial winners?
That's what I was going to say. So we're all on board with Kerry and Dublin, of course, and Munster and Leinster. But Ulster, first of all, who are we going with Ulster? You've got Derry and Armagh merging. You've got the old dogs in Tyrone, Donegal, Monaghan potentially in there as well. It's fairly impossible to call. Even Cavan won it a couple of years ago, but I can't see that being repeated.
Well, you look at the Ulster draw, you've got Donegal, Down, Armagh, Cavan, Antrim on one side. So, like Donegal, no Michael Murphy, new management team. You got to think there's a big opportunity for Armagh.
Massive. Yeah, and then the other side is Tyrone, Monaghan, Derry.
For Armagh.
Not even mentioned Derry yet, like.
Yeah, I mean, Derry for me, like... Derry will have the rocket under their ass after last season's All-Ireland semi-final. Like,
but all of those teams are going to qualify on the basis of their league campaign, with the exception of
Not necessarily, because of, again, what's happened with the draw. Some of the Division 2 teams may well be under pressure.
Because
if you're relegated from Division 2, you definitely
fall.
You don't qualify for the All-Ireland series unless you get to a provincial final.
Right.
Well, last year's Ulster final, Derry beat them.
Are there 17 teams? How are they making 16? So
Westmeath will be if you get to a provincial final, you're guaranteed. So the 8 provincial finalists are guaranteed a place.
Right.
And then you work down the league rankings for the next stage.
Okay. So you don't know at the end of the league whether or not
But
you
also
get through.
Westmeath are guaranteed to be one of them. So there's 9.
Somehow, says Nathan, despite the fact that they've won the trophy last year, it guarantees them a position in the competition.
If we assume Westmeath don't get to a provincial final, if we assume that, then you've got 9 places already gone. So then it goes down the rankings for the 7 teams.
They're on the handy side of the draw, so they actually only have to beat Meath to get to a provincial final. So they could do the GAA a favour by actually getting there and getting another.
It's not beyond the realm of possibility at all.
No, it really isn't. You'd give them a decent chance. So the teams, you do actually need to finish fairly high up in Division 2 to be guaranteed then.
Yeah, so
let's say for example on that weak side of Connacht, a team comes through. So that's going to be a team. So
that's guaranteed one of those.
That's 2 positions. Right. So there's 2. So there's 14 left, and there's 8 in Division 1. They're all guaranteed.
6 in Division 1 are guaranteed, top 6, and then the top 2 from Division 2 get promoted. So they're ranked above the 2 relegated sides from Division 1.
Okay, so that's 8 sides there. But there's 14.
Yeah.
So there's no way. And you need Cork to come through.
It's like Kilbane of Nations League, lads, all over again.
Well, it's just easy. So Cork and Kerry are on different sides of the draw.
Yeah, so you'd assume they're coming through, and then Cork need to finish.
Say that to Limerick.
And what happens
I think if you look at it realistically, it's 3 or 4 of the Division 2 teams are going to be struggling because Dublin are going to win Division 2, you have to assume, and get promoted. Meath are in there, Kildare, Louth, Derry, Limerick, Cork, Clare. So I think like for a team like Kildare, the league is massively important. Louth, Derry, Limerick, Cork and Clare.
It's a good division.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. But somebody like Kildare could well be just on that borderline of...
Yeah.
What happens if Westmeath get promoted from Division 3, get to the Leinster final, and obviously have also won the Tailteann Cup?
They get in 3 times. They get to field their junior team, an intermediate team, and the senior team.
I by the way, I will loop back to the earlier question and say that I do. Wasn't there some stat wheeled out about when Mayo got relegated to Division 2 about the last county to have won from Division 2 was Armagh or something? Am I wrong about that? There was some stat about how life in Division 2 is not conducive to winning the All Ireland. And like, look, maybe Dublin are at a perfect point in their trajectory to have to rebuild from that platform rather than have to compete against the big guns. But
briefly before we move on, the Connacht Championship, Nathan, who's coming out on top of that one? I know what you're going to say, but I mean,
I don't know.
Galway.
What's the draw again?
Mayo play Roscommon in the quarterfinals. The winners of that play Galway.
That is tasty. That is tasty. I don't care if there's a minnow in the final. That is tasty.
Well, there will be.
There will be a minnow in the final, yeah.
I think on the basis of last season, you'd have to fancy Galway to, they straight through to semi-final. Yeah.
You don't
looking for a good day out alongside Westmeath and the All Ireland.
Like
this stage of the All Ireland.
Would you like an Al Tailteann Cup season? You'd win something.
Hell no.
Would that kill the curse?
No, that'd increase the curse. That'd make the curse worse.
The Tailteann Cup. I don't think Mayo can really end up in the Tailteann Cup this year.
Is there not a way? No.
Not really. No.
Get relegated.
They'll find a way.
Get relegated. No, I think they'd be fine. More than likely.
Well,
don't you worry.
If they get relegated,
the best thing that ever happened to Tailteann Cup, I can tell you.
So what they would need is they would need to get relegated.
Yeah.
And they need Dublin to win the league. They need Kildare to beat Dublin. So in the Leinster Championship, they'd need Limerick.
And they'd need Antrim or Cavan or somebody to get through.
On the fringes there.
It'd be great, wouldn't it?
Oh, it'd be
for football.
amazing.
Or we could just win the league, win Connacht, and then set ourselves up.
It's a great run, lads. It's great.
Or
year
you win
out.
Talchin, and then the next year, you're like...
Man, we're not playing Talchin.
You're like Jose Mourinho.
Come on.
Sure,
Have a bit of respect. Have a bit of respect.
All those Mayo salty tears that you end up with on the usual day at the end, like suddenly it's everybody's laughing and as heading home west, happy out.
Siege mentality. There's going to be this Kevin McStay siege mentality around Mayo this year. No, he's more open with the media than perhaps previous
Why
times.
are we talking about Mayo?
Sorry, let's move on from Mayo. Let's not talk about it. Should we move on to small ball, in fact? The All-Ireland Hurling Championship. And there's absolutely zero controversy in this one. We've gone...
Is sport becoming
Limerick.
too predictable?
Limerick across the board. Jer, Nathan, Adrian, Shane.
Oh.
Yeah.
As we're all wrong, proven wrong in 12 months' time.
Well, who could do it? Kilkenny?
That's where I struggled.
Can we take that back up?
Trying to make a case for...
I know what you're going to say. The size of his arms. This Limerick team are too big to lose.
Well, one of these things is closer than the other, I presume.
Yeah. I mean,
Martin's small head.
Well, it's fair. The likelihood of someone breaking through and beating this team is fairly slim, isn't it?
It is.
Do we just all agree Limerick and move on? Is this like not the most open and shut category that we have?
Yeah, it's difficult to see anybody next year. Look, it should be interesting. Everybody has a bit more tape, but they did win last year without their best player. Their best player is going to be available again for them this year. So with Cian Lynch back in the team, the one caveat is that maybe they're all exhausted from the amount of work and dedication they have to put in to win. But there's no sign of that. They're up against history. This will be a 4 in a row for them. And they know they can do a 5 in a row. And so they know they can be the greatest team of all time. And there's no reason for them to stop. And the age profile is excellent. So...
Yeah. Like you hear, in fairness, there's a lot of stories always doing the rounds around Limerick and the professionalism, but you hear the story of one of their star players saying like 4 days after the All-Ireland, I'm just going to go to the gym just to sweat off some of the beer. And he goes in, there's about 10 of the other Limerick lads already in there ahead of him.
Was this not on the team holiday?
Probably team holiday as well.
I thought I heard that one on the team holiday, that one of them was like feeling a bit, don't feel great, haven't been in the gym, and then goes down. It's like,
and that's what the Dubs used to do. Andy Moran in his book talks about going in on an All-Stars trip and Bernard's already there. A few of the Dubs just laying down a little marker just so everybody else on the trip can see, we're in the gym at 7 a.m.
But it works.
Out on the road, pucking the ball off the ball wall.
It works. The thing is as well, so Limerick, because Limerick are doing so well, none of their players want to leave the panel. They don't want to go off anywhere. And we had the story at the end of November where 2 of Kilkenny's starters from last year's hurling final are already stepping aside. Conor Brown, starting midfielder, off to Australia for the year to travel. Mikey Carey, who started in half-back for that All-Ireland final, he's off on his travels. There's speculation he won't return for the season as well. That's 2 of Kilkenny starters from last year's final. Nobody is leaving the Limerick panel.
Maybe they've been held back for the last 7-8 years by Brian Cody.
From leaving?
As in they couldn't travel.
Maybe Kilkenny have been held back. Maybe actually this has been a unbelievable generation of talented Kilkenny players who just are waiting for a more modern style of hurling.
I think
that's
Nathan,
going to be unleashed.
I thought I just
Derek
woke
Lee.
up. I might have just woken up, but I think Nathan just said that maybe Brian Cody held Kilkenny back.
Yeah.
Is that what you said there?
That's the winning Mayo mentality.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
We don't know. Like what if again these young Kilkenny players are better than the Tommy Walsh, JJ Henry generation, but hurling has moved on and Kilkenny hasn't.
Derek Ling at the wheel, of course. But we're only talking Kilkenny here. Is there anyone else that can even batten into that group and maybe threaten Limerick? Waterford are always threatening, but never really quite get there.
Like the one you'd always go to is just Tip could turn up and suddenly get it all together, but they've lost so many players over the last few years, it's hard to make a case. Would you trust Cork? No chance.
By the way, like Brian Cody holding Kilkenny back at the last they were in 3 of the last 7 or 8 All-Irelands. Like, I mean,
that's not success though from a Kilkenny point of
hardly
view.
a great sign. Well, from Nathan's point of view, that's absolute success.
Well, true. I suppose from a Mayo perspective, you'd take the finals. That's all you can get. But yeah, I think we have to move on from that one, lads.
Yeah,
is there any point?
No.
Limerick.
I'm just
Limerick
confused by they've won 3 of the last 7 or 8 All-Irelands.
Been in 3 of the last 7 finals, I think he
In
said.
the finals. Come on.
But sure, is that what
So
Kilkenny's
pay
about?
attention. I know you're
Is that what
sluggish
Kilkenny's
there after a
about?
couple of-
Getting to All-Ireland finals.
A couple of.
Also, that's success for some counties, is it?
Have you ever had...
Getting to All-Ireland finals is success for some counties.
Have you ever tried Bailey's in your porridge? I recommend it. We're that close now. You may as well hung for a sheep as a lamb.
On sale for a tenner.
What?
Bottle of Bailey's. Bottle of Bailey's just a tenner.
Yeah, where was that?
I think in all
Is it everywhere?
reputable. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Happy New Year, folks.
Have we figured out
Shot
what a
of
Bailey
whiskey.
shot is?
A double.
A double.
Yeah.
So a double shot is a Bailey shot.
Yeah,
Is it, yeah?
Well, that's what we're saying.
But does anyone use a shot glass for Bailey's?
No, you put it.
You just pour and
you put in a glass of ice. Don't you?
for the best.
Put it in the glass, yeah.
And put in a big thing of ice and make sure you get
pint
above
of
the
Baileys,
ice.
please.
Pint of Baileys, yeah. I'm the Baileys coffee man around the Hannon household
you?
over Christmas. Yeah. Even into the new year. I think up to January 6th.
No, they're unconnected. This is divorced from Christmas. You can have a Baileys coffee anytime. You deserve
Is it not
it.
a bit? Is it not a bit the granny from the royal family? Like,
No, you haven't seen their new marketing campaigns. Obviously, they've moved way past that. Like
I mean,
Bailey's
that's
is.
you're a sucker for marketing that, and I wouldn't be.
It's a young person's drink now. I know
Absolutely.
none of you three lads would understand that, but it is a young person's drink.
And sorry,
I've always
I
liked
remember the Baileys ads that introduced me to Baileys, and there was no old granny about it.
Fair, 100%. Yeah, the average age is coming down for those Baileys fans. Masters winner Irish Rory hopes. Let's go for the Masters winner first. Ger has gone Shane Lowry to finish top 5. Which
Well, that's not the question that was
That's not
asked.
the question that was asked whatsoever. Nathan has gone for a Spanish winner in John Ram. Adrian has gone for Rory to win, and I have said that Cam Smith will make a little bounce over from the live tour to pick up a green jacket as the villain of the group. Ger, do you care to elaborate on the fence sitting once more?
Oh, I think Rory's going to win the Open.
So do I. Yeah.
I don't think he's going to win both. I actually think he's going to win the US Open and the Open. I think he's going to have like
Here's Rory McIlroy's 2023 for people also on the screen. Ger has said he'll win the Open and the US Open. Nathan, his best chances at the Open. Adrian says he will win the Masters, and I've said he'll win the Open. Ger, sorry, go on.
I think this would take a bit of a miracle, really. Like the level of form that he's at would need to kick up another notch for him to be as dominant as I have predicted in this, where he competes at the Masters but doesn't win and is ultimately kind of disappointed by that. But I think he's better equipped as a person to deal with the setback of not winning the Masters, even though like that's going to complete his clean sweep or his major cabinet. I just think that the form that he's shown has proven that he's back to his absolute best, won everything. And I mean, I want this to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. It'd be ridiculous for him to win both of those. It'd be like, all-time great levels. So that's what I want.
He's right there, though, isn't he? Like it this year, every single tournament, he's right there. He's in the discussion for all of these. Like to say to win all 4 in 1 year is obviously such a ludicrous notion. But if this year is anything to go by, he's right there every time.
The difficulty
and
is taking form from 1 year to the next is impossible.
Yeah,
Well,
and
it's
I don't
difficult,
think you
but-
can look at the Masters, even though he had that brilliant final round. I said the Masters there in the reel.
Calvin, actually, hey,
Right.
maybe getting on there on there.
I'm talking about the Masters. Right, he has
Masters,
this
hey.
brilliant final round, and he holds out an 18, and it's one of the moments of the year. But it never really felt like he was going to win the Masters this year. The one that he had a real opportunity in was the Open Championship, and it was interesting hearing that he had COVID the week before. Did that have an impact, I wonder, on his energy levels on the Sunday? Because that's what held him back, where there was a low score out there. I still wonder, was he just that bit too conservative? Did he think, you know what, I'm Rory McIlroy, people will fall away around me, and he just didn't hold the putts when he needed to hold the putts? And I agree with you, Ger. I think we have, while he's maybe never been in consistently good form in his all-round game, like there's no doubts, every part of his game has been questioned over the last 3 or 4 years, from his course management to his caddy,
His driving.
his putting, his wedge play, his iron play. It doesn't feel like there's any doubts about anything in his game right now. And if the Masters was the first week in January, I think everyone would say, yes, Rory's ready to grab this by the balls. But it does feel as though he has a maturity as well now, that actually he won't try and change anything over the next 3 months, that he'll just roll with this. But I probably say this every year on this slot, if there was one thing aside from Mayo winning in All Ireland, it'd be Rory to win the Masters. And I think more than ever it'd be just such a crowning glory.
Would you take a week off work?
I was going to say, we'd have a Monday club.
Yeah.
Tuesday
Monday
club.
club. Monday club, yeah.
For Rory.
Has anyone ever had a Monday club for a golfer winning a tournament?
Where would you
On the
have
boar's
it?
head.
On the boar's head.
on your own.
Rory in the Boar's Head.
Yeah.
Like Shane
you-
Lowry won
you-
it. Well, Shane was in the Boar's Head, wasn't he, when he won the Open
Was.
Championship?
I think there's
There's the Calvin for you there. Go on,
there's a
sorry.
big case that he can carry that form over. I think, to borrow a phrase, the anger is on. Like, he's got a real chip on his shoulder over the whole live stuff. He's out fighting on the course. And
Good
off
point,
the
though.
course.
What if peace breaks out in that?
Hopefully not from his point of view. Like,
Well,
if it does, then maybe that changes the game. But I think at the minute he's out to prove that he is the hero, and he's the white knight, and he's selling it into town, and he's like taking that into his game, and the anger is on fully. And look, I don't know. Every year that goes past, you think, Jesus, with the Masters, it's such a pressure. There's a finite number of them left that he can actually win in his career, and I'm sure that's playing in his mind too. But yeah, it's definitely it's not even a heart over head thing. Like himself, Ram.
Rory will start as favourite for the Masters. I don't think there's any question about that. He's had, when you look at it statistically, this is the fourth peak of his career, and they've all sort of lasted a similar amount of time. So the first two, he manages to win the 4 majors in. The third one, about 2018, he wins a load of tournaments, but then has another dip just when it comes to major championship time, and then COVID hits as well. So can he sustain this, or is this just a natural trajectory of can he keep it into next April, May, June, July? Because the thing with the majors now is they come around in the space of 4 months. So can he have that hot streak that he's had really since St Andrews, which kickstarted all of this? I know he played well in all the majors, but in terms of winning tournaments, it feels as though sitting here right now, he should never go into a Masters in a better place. But
there's always that but. I've taken the piss of Ger there for sitting on the fence by putting Lowry into top 5 in the Masters. Could there be an element of GMAC Pebble Beach 2010 where we're talking about Rory so much that we forget about Power, we forget about Lowry, and one of them could sneak in and win a major? Yeah,
well, Shane is a big game player. He turns up, he now knows Augusta, he knows he can play it well. He finished, third at the Masters last year, so I think it'll be his 8th appearance at Augusta when he goes back this year, which probably fits in with the sort of general timeline of players traditionally of how often you need to play that course. And I just always feel with Shane that when he's in contention in a big tournament, you back him to stay there. So I think all of the Irish golfers will have opportunities over the next few years. And even with Rory, there's a finite number of opportunities. It feels as though we could still be sitting here in 10 years and go, Rory has the talent to win a Masters.
Yeah.
And now the pressure's off. Nobody expects it anymore. Maybe he'll just pop up and do it. Like one of my golf tips for the year, or maybe we're getting to surprise things a little bit later on. I think Rory definitely, he's obviously going back to Royal Liverpool where he's won his Open Championship before. If he's in any sort of form, has a brilliant chance of going and winning that, and maybe he just needs that to break the. I felt that last year. Just win a major. Forget about the Masters. Just win a major, and maybe the Masters will come down the track as well.
Yeah,
I think John Rahm's had a really average 2022. Didn't contend
well, though,
at any of the majors. You talk about Rory and needing the anger. There's obviously a bit of with Rahm of stereotypical Spanish temperament. Does it do him any good being that angry in the course? He's probably felt a little bit left out, and even he made those comments after Rory and Tiger went into business together. And what do you know about us? Why are you asking me? I don't run golf. Ask the guys who run golf. And now he's actually a part of that. But maybe he's feeling a bit more loved again. Doesn't get the respect he deserves.
John Rahm.
And maybe a bit of jealousy at how Rory has been elevated even beyond golf over the past year.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a response from John Rahm.
That's Nathan's picks for the Masters, as he would call it. In the Ballyhollis or Ballygym stuff, probably a bit of both now. So that's our Masters thoughts and Rory's thoughts for 2023. We probably have a minute or two just quickly for surprises. I'm going to say status quo in the snooker. Ronnie O'Sullivan potentially to break the record and win.
Status quo, we're going to play the snooker. I'd watch that.
Eighth World Snooker Championship. It's tough to predict, and if he doesn't win it, Mark Allen, we're going to have an Irish winner, the Antrim man. He's been playing very, very well towards the tail end of 2022, and it will be status quo in the Formula 1. Max Verstappen will win a 3rd World Drivers' Championship, I'd imagine. Do you lads have any other little tidbits or predictions for 2023 for other sports?
I hope to be playing Talton Cup football by 2024.
I think things to look forward to. We'll have 3 Irish players playing at the Ryder Cup.
Right, yeah.
Seamus Power will be on that European Ryder Cup team alongside McIlroy and Lowry, and the week before that the Solheim Cup is on in Europe, so Leona Maguire will be a big part of that. Leona Maguire to win a major in 2023.
Yeah, fair. Anything? You lads? Happy enough? You take the green shoots. Any Irish wins is a good win.
Who's going to be the Republic of Ireland manager at the end of the year?
I was thinking about that.
Oh, Jesus. That's a tough
one. Stephen Kenny or not Stephen Kenny? Even that question.
Yeah, that's
Mick McCarthy.
Tough. Mick McCarthy, stop. Big
Stop.
Sam. We can't go down those roads. That's the problem. There's no obvious person there, is there?
Chris Hughton.
It's too early for Stephen Bradley. So I mean,
well, they're definitely if Stephen Kenny isn't the manager at the end of 2023, Stephen Bradley most definitely will not be the next manager.
Yeah,
there'll be such a backlash against League of Ireland managers.
Yeah,
fair.
Yeah,
that's our predictions. That is the OTB AM crystal ball for 2023. 2022 into 2023. So that's all our predictions. Let us know in the comments, of course.
Crystal String, more like what?
Oh, Crystal String boy. That's, yeah, I like it. I'll take it. I think we should next year make the effort, concerted effort, to look back and make people look like idiots in advance of playing this out, and kind of pick back clips that people made fools of themselves. But that were our predictions. Those were our predictions for 2023. Thanks for watching. Happy New Year, folks, and we'll see you next year.
OTB AM
with Gillette. Get into your flow with the new Gillette Labs Razor with exfoliating bar.